All right, on this episode of Bare Knuckle Bowker, very excited to be talking to an individual ahead of a very intriguing cross-promotional effort, which goes down at Super RIZIN 3, and that takes place on July the 28th. We've got some BKFC rule set taking place in the context of RIZIN Fighting Federation, and we have Charisa Sigala knuckling up and towing the line against Tai Emery, and great getting to have Tai on the show for the first time. How are you doing? You having a solid day so far, Tai?
Yeah, g'day. Oh, every day is a solid day at the moment. Pretty, as you said, like this is a cross promotion, like first thing ever to do in Japan. So I'm definitely not like taking anything lightly. I'm super honored that David asked me. So yeah, it's full steam ahead. I'm out here in Dubai training out at TK MMA. So this is home for the next few years. I'm pretty chuffed about that. Yeah, my whole team is like full of absolute weapons. So you can definitely say like every day is a hard day, which is a good day in the office.
Yeah, and it's cool to hear that Dubai has been such a good fit. I kind of gleaned that from checking out some of the social media and kind of doing my research for this. Like, it just seems like you've gotten some great international looks over the years. Like, I was reading how you used to like sleep on the concrete floors and some of the Muay Thai gyms sometimes and stuff like that. So, yeah, no, that's great to hear though.
I honestly think like all of those years happened because I never like had a negative day. Obviously there's sad moments, but like I never took it as like a negative day. I just took it as like life happening. And I think that's why like life is just completely turned around and I'm living in one of the most luxurious, I think the most luxurious like city in the world. I think that's how the life and balance kind of works, you know, like karma always spins like everything around. So I feel like that was like a great building block. And now we're like in this part of like the career where the next few years are going to be really busy. They're going to be some crazy events that I have no doubt I'm going to get to be involved with. BKFC, with Connor's just taken on board. So BKFC is like literally, I think we're like the next WWE, like we're that little brother that's coming up and growing up beside UFC, and we're growing up fast.
Yeah, and it seems like a great time to get back in the fold just because it's been, I guess, a bit over a year and a half now since you last stepped into the BKFC ranks. So it seems like there's been a lot of exciting development even since that fight at BKFC Thailand 4.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, I was in Phuket. I spent my COVID years there. And then I met Coach Mega. So Coach Mega's out of Dagestan. He's worked with I feel like his following list has got more blue ticks than I've ever seen in my life. And once I kind of scored him as my coach and I started like flicking through, you know how like because I have no idea about fight world sort of stuff. I grew up in a small town of Queensland, Australia. And I'm pretty naive to stuff just because I'm always busy with my life. I'm always loving self-development. Like I love my own life more than having to I don't know, look into the fangirl sort of stuff. But yeah, once I started clicking on, I was like, who are you, Mega? Like, who are you, coach? But I got to spend, yeah, 8 to 9 months out with him with Team Sunken. Now, this is a Chinese team. It's got two-time world champion, one world champion, Tang Kai. That's our like leader out there out of all of the fighters. But just to be able to be under Coach Mega's wing for 8 to 9 months, like that's some crazy cool development, Um, yeah, hell, I've gone from a Muay Thai base. I've started learning the boxing. I learnt, I feel like I wouldn't say Mega loves boxing, but he's like like he's just a real fighter. So he had to teach me a lot of fundamentals that maybe some other coaches didn't have the patience for. Just because, I am an athlete. I've come from being an all-star defense tackler, and I think my athleticism can trick people when for them to forget that I actually don't know anything about fighting. I just really love it. So, um, yeah, I'm excited to see kind of what pulls out this fight. Yeah, like you said, I've been on the sideline for a year and a half, the longest year and a half of my life. But I think this is the best time to be getting thrown back in, like you said. Like BKFC is just going to the moon.
Yeah, and I mean, not to sidebar too much, but I was also seeing that you have some opportunities on the table with Misfits Boxing, having signed with that outfit. So, I mean, that's exciting also.
I think that's super exciting. I absolutely loved the Paige and Elle fight. I thought that was such an incredible leap for like women's boxing and women's crossover boxing. We've got Jake Paul pulling out everything left, right, and center. So I guess Elle's kind of taking that female position. And I love that for the sport. I love that for all of us female fighters too, It means a different platform. It means something different and exciting. People are enjoying that influencer, seeing where these YouTubers are going and taking someone who predominantly isn't like a strict boxer and then putting them in that sort of, making the game a little bit more even. So yeah, knowing like what Mams is doing, I messaged him straight after that fight, just being like, congratulations, like that's like such a big thing for women in sport, whether people want to see it from that like kind of view or not. But I'm excited to pull the gloves on. I love that I'm a bare knuckle. I think I fit that. I think my style fits that. I think the fact that I've just been a footy player my whole life. I'm technically behind everyone who, let's say who's in like the UFC. So to have that sort of like platform now where I can kind of fit in and use my skill set and use my talents, like, yeah, there's nothing more exciting to me.
Yeah, no, exciting times all around, and I feel like I'd be remiss if I didn't at least get like a couple insights from that last bare knuckle fight I kind of touched on, because I think people knew the resume of Poe Denman at the time, but I mean, just even the period of time that's elapsed since then. I mean, the current BKFC Thailand strawweight champion, like one of the top ranked 115 pounders in bare knuckle. Like it seems like there could be a lot that would be, I guess, gleaned from a fight like that, just going the distance with such an obviously high level competitor. Like you're talking about having that, I guess,
Yeah.
experience deficit, but I mean, I feel like you could take away some things from there, even though it's not in the, I guess, good place, quote unquote, of that win loss binary. Like I feel like you could really glean a lot from that fight.
Look, losses are learns, and I don't think if I had gotten a loss then, I don't think I would have like turned internally to see the health issues or the underlying health issues that I even had. I had a leaking breast implant and I had no idea. Here I am fighting at the top level. So to even look back and see where I was mentally, I was allowing things to go past. I was in an environment that I shouldn't have even been in, just because I had other things going on. But I've always like I'm a workaholic, like I love hard work. And to me, if I'm like struggling in any way physically, I just automatically go, okay, let's work harder. So I don't think out with if I didn't get that loss, I wouldn't have never have figured out like what was really going on with my health. I don't think I would have ever figured out that I need to find my team. I wouldn't have ever had the balls to be like, hey, I don't like how I was treated by this gym. I don't like how I was treated in this way. I don't like how I was even treated at the promotion. And then not only that, like this girl has had over 100 fights and is literally one of the best boxers, for that category. So it also showed me that I'm here to really play and I'm learning fast. And, with the right tools and the right people around me, I know that like anything is literally possible. And I think it showed a lot of other people. One, I'm like, yeah, I got the KO in the first one, which is what we all want, but it doesn't show that skill set. So I think for me to be able to show that I can go 5 rounds under horrible circumstances, that's a scary person. Like someone who doesn't want to die or doesn't want to give up or doesn't want to quit and has literally a new vagina on their forehead. Like, I think that's a scary person, and I want to be scary. So let's go.
Yeah, well, I mean, glad to hear that everything is back in alignment with the health situation. I mean, that's what's most paramount anyway. So good to hear that.
Yeah, health is wealth, and I think we forget that until, the wealth is down.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's a great way to phrase it. But I think an interesting component with this foray into Japan that I was seeing from doing my research, I was noticing that you were at one point looking to be an exchange student and go over to Japan, which eventually, did not materialize. So there's something interesting about that whole experience. Like I even understood through that time you were taking some Japanese language lessons and stuff like that. So it's kind of funny how things work out in this life sometimes.
I feel you. I was meant to go and live there for 1 or 2 years during high school, and I studied Japanese from year 8 to year 12, and I just loved it. I don't know what it was about it, but I loved it. I can read hiragana, katakana. Um, Kanji is a bit hard, like I think that was like that's a next step level. But I really love Japanese, and yeah, man, my Matsubara sensei is going to be so proud because he always believed that I should be like a teacher over there or something. And yeah, it's kind of funny how it all works out. I think I really do believe that all these dreams that you had in the innocence years as a kid, I really, truly, truly, truly believe like everything has like this transpired, years of development for the universe to like hand you everything you've ever dreamed of, whether it's good or bad, and karma comes into play, Allah comes into play, fate comes into play, but we really, really get like whatever we want. So I'm excited for Japan. I've actually been practicing mostly because I know everyone's going to be like, "Are you going to slash your boob?" So I've mostly been
Yeah.
practicing. I know I've mostly been practicing that just to be like, "Hey, I'm not going to be naughty." Like, hands up, hands up. I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah, no, you're focusing on throwing down for sure, but it's kind of interesting. Like you were talking about the dynamics going on in your last fight and how that's like such a difficult opponent to face, like someone who, stares such adversity in the face and just really pushes through. Like I feel like in a lot of ways, your opponent, Charisa Sigala, encapsulates that in a lot of regards as well. Like not even just having, been through so many wars, but even in her last fight, like just the way she fell on her leg and just such an obvious graphic injury. But it didn't seem like there was even like a fleeting second that she thought about getting out of the fight. Like she was almost trying to like readjust it and get right back to it. So I feel like just, that being said, this fight just very interesting on paper, both in terms of like the skill and I guess just general temerity, for lack of a better way to phrase it, I guess.
And see, this is exactly why I said that they've chosen the two right crazy women to represent what BKFC encapsulates. Like she doesn't give up, I don't give up. Other than the fight where she like broke her ankle, like, or snapped her ankle in half, she has gone 5 rounds, doesn't die, like doesn't give up, doesn't even look like a swollen head or a busted like face even phases her. So I think like for us, what two perfect women to be able to show Japan exactly like what bare knuckle is about. Because you do have to be a different fighter. You have to be a different athlete and a different human to be doing bare knuckle. I think we saw that with the Mike Perry and what was his name? Luke Rockhold. We saw that in that. Like this guy's how many world champion, UFC, blah, 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 always speaking game, and then literally gives up from like his teeth getting cracked in. Like, bro, I've lost and had 2 teeth cracked out. Like, we've seen Beck Rawlings spit a tooth out. So that kind of shows, and like that's just from the women. Like, like this is just from the women's side of bare knuckle. Like, we're like just gritting our teeth and going. And I think when we're seeing some of those crossovers, like it's making a lot of fighters realize they're like, oh, okay, I'm definitely gonna stick to the patties and the little sparring. But Charissa, I'm super excited for it. I think I also love the fact that they've done a 120-pound catch weight. So I'm a 125er, she's a 115. Obviously, this is taking away my power. So that's going to be a much more evenly matched fight just because of the extreme weight cut that I'm going to need to do. And I love that they're kind of doing that to place it as a more like equal, like you can see that they really want the fight to be a 5-round blood war. And I think that this is a very high possibility.
Yeah, and that is an interesting facet of this fight, as you mentioned. I guess the immediate question that I kind of have from that, like, I guess just like not overlooking this fight, but just in terms of like generally navigating a certain division's hierarchy, like would the focus hereafter be on kind of rising the flyweight ranks and all?
I think definitely. I think I am a 125er. But at the same time, I do believe that through this weight cut, I'm going to be able to show that hey, maybe I'm the queen of 120 pounds, you know. For women, there's huge speculation on extreme weight cuts and divisions. And you know, maybe this shows like potentially there can be a 115, a 120, and a 135. Making, you know, making more divisions is so much safer. We've got how many girls with breast implants who are probably going up a weight division? Like, I think the more weight divisions there is in the future, and that's where I'm sure David's going to want to be expanding to, you know, is being able to have that and have the safety of the fighters. I keep saying it. I'm like, I think I'm a 120-pound fighter. It just means being more diligent in my nutrition. It, you know, now at the 57 kilo or the 125 weight cut, I'm already on weight to be able to cut the rest in water, you know. So that kind of says one thing. So knowing that I need to be more professional and get into the intricacies of like human body and how, like, I know I react to food, what I should and shouldn't be eating, not eating after a certain time. Like, this sort of discipline is the crazy and the hardest part of this. Like, it's so easy to go and, you know, smash, smash, smash. The hardest thing for most of us is like, oh, I gotta stop eating, you know, like,
Yeah.
yeah, like I said, I'm excited. I think even just being able to have this has put way more focus for me. It's kept me super in line. And it's also really made me appreciate like a lot of things. I think taking things away always shows you what you want. And that's not to just be like, oh, I want food. I mean, like, okay, you've taken away food, and now I've started to see where maybe I was eating food in certain times as like, oh, I deserve a little treaty. Maybe we should have just like handled that emotion that you had instead of like covering it with a little treaty every Wednesday, you know? Like, so that makes you stronger. So even by, yeah, having to do a crazy cut like this, it also gains respect, you know? Like, anyone who's does this sport from any sort of level, like, even having women do like one round of 2-minute boxing, like, all of a sudden, you know, they look at you and they're like, oh my gosh, this is the hardest thing in the world. And that lady just learned that in 2 minutes. So for anyone that's like in this sport, if you know, as they say, if you know, you know, when they know someone's having to do a cut like this, I think it also gains more respect in the work office.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting. Like, I mean, it's cool to hear that I guess 120 might seem like your optimal kind of weight to fight at and whatnot. I
Bro,
guess
I'm
like a
fast as fuck, boy. Like, all of a sudden, I'm like, because I'm like, I'm hungry, but I'm doing sprints and I'm sprinting faster than before. Like, it's crazy, you know, like, that's crazy to me. Like, to realize you're like, oh, I just really loved desserts. Maybe I should be just cut out some desserts, not get ourselves to 66 kilos and be a 120 pounder and just dominate. Questions.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting because there's not like a formally established division or title hierarchy there necessarily. So would the focus almost be, I guess, oriented to like exciting matchups more so, just because there's not necessarily a title to strive for? Like, I guess I also say that in the context of noticing you'd previously called out Paige Van Zandt and this Charisa Sigala fight, obviously exciting. So is a lot of the focus almost kind of oriented to like the specific matchups being of an exciting variety to kind of raise your level, I guess?
I think most definitely. And hey, like, even in saying that, not just like a page fight, there's how many girls like in the 115-pound division who would gladly step up and want to try and smash my face in. Like, Britain Hart, 100% would want to try and smash my face up for the baddest bitch belt, like, for sure. I know that some of these girls, if I'm like, yo, step up to 120, like, you're always talking like, I'll be 125, yeah. You know, like, everyone's got a mouth on them until they're getting it punched in. So if I'm the girl that's not meant to be like ever belong to a certain weight division and I'm just meant to be at this 120 crazy catch weight, exciting fight, like, cool. I'll love to be a gypsy between all three divisions.
Well, it kind of creates like a unique lane for yourself as you've kind of outlined it there. Like you can kind of get the straw weights that want to throw down to kind of come up to like an interim weight between that and flyweight. So yeah, no, it's interesting. Like I get the vision. I see the vision, I guess. But I mean, this event very interesting even beyond the bare knuckle facets. Like, I mean, John Dodson, the flyweight champion, fighting Takaki Soya is an incredible fight in its own right. But there must be something cool about also getting to compete on the same card that Manny Pacquiao is on. So that's something I love about RIZIN too. Like, it's such like a, I guess, combat sports extravaganza. There's like so many facets of the show to look forward to.
Yeah, I agree. I'm how can you not be honored? Manny Pacquiao, there's not a soul in the sport that doesn't even not know Manny Pacquiao. This is my second legend that I'm going to be debuting, on a card with. My first legend was the Muay Thai king himself, Borkow, and now I'm getting a boxing legend, Manny Pacquiao. In my short little career, like what an amazing thing. Like what a crazy, crazy, amazing gift. I'm so excited. Not only that, just to know like it's in Japan. The crowds don't even cheer. It's more like a tennis crowd. Like it's such a different culture. And just the way that they like even approach martial arts as an art. Like remember they've got the samurai, so things in every culture has this like are so specific to things. But I think in their hearts they've still got the heart of a samurai in there, so that's just going to be oozing throughout the whole show. And honestly, I'm so excited to see the matchups from the BKFC ones. They've got the two bare knuckle bouts, and then to be able to watch the rest of the card. I know that there's even another female bout on. So I'm excited to even get to support that. And then I'm super excited to be able to just, try and sit front row and watch Manny Pacquiao.
Yeah, and I guess like as we're kind of talking about it, it's like you've gotten to have like a journey that's very much tied into the BKFC global expansion. Like you seem to have like a specific affinity for like the sport in and of itself, but I mean getting to fight on the Thailand circuit and now going to Japan, like that seems like a very cool facet of it as well.
I think, yeah, that's why I've started seeing, I think I'm like that. I don't know what they see me as within BKFC. I definitely know that they value me. I always hear the word superstar, and something I've probably heard most of my life, and never really like understood why. And then it's hard to not like look at my life now and be like, oh, I get it. I've got the energy. Okay, so let's use it. Um, if that's what I'm going to be doing until I get to have my debut in America, if that does even happen, cool. I get to travel the world with BKFC and be a global superstar. It's not a bad life.
It's kind of interesting you say that, like in the sense of people had kind of like said that about you, like this wasn't the operative word, but like a certain level of like, I don't know, like charisma or star power or energy. Like when did you start kind of, I guess, realizing what that was, or maybe leaning into it is the better way to phrase it? Because it seems like it's something you've heard since you were younger and whatnot. Like when did you kind of start to, I guess, like lean into it a little more or realize how to utilize it or something of that persuasion, if that makes sense?
Maybe like last week when I was looking at homes to live in. I just that random like I'd been hearing it, and then just to have someone who I'd literally gone, "G'day, mate!" Like, "Oh, I'm looking for somewhere to stay," like, "Oh, cool! Oh, wow! Oh no!" And then within 2 seconds goes, "You've got the energy," and I was like, "Wow, I've heard that so many times," and for all of a sudden for the pin to drop, you're just like, I think maybe that's why people like me too, is because I'm not naive or humble. Or I am humble. I try to be. Um, what was it called? They said I've got like the innocence of a young child, and I think I don't know what a cool way to like be able to walk the earth. Like if I'm going to be that airheaded killer, like it's not too bad. But to step into like I'm trying to step into those shoes more and more each day, just because with great power comes great responsibility. So I know that if I can make other people feel good, like of course I want to make people feel good. I know that I can make people feel like lots of different things, and if I can really like use that and like step into everything and just like take over with my own energy, like Yeah, I need to wake up. I need to wake up.
I mean, it seems to benefit what you're doing. Like, I feel like you've mentioned a few times, I'm not necessarily one of these people, like in the UFC, for instance, who's like been in martial arts since I was a kid, but it seems like you have this very like positive, like optimism minded sort of focus that I think can inform that. Like, I mean, it seems like you're, I guess, like expediting that growth relative to the fact that like you haven't been necessarily doing it since you were a kid. Like, it seems like you talked about the athleticism, obviously, but I would think that mindset that you've touched on also pays dividends to the progression and all.
Yeah, I think the more that I've realized I am a martial artist, whether people want to accept it or not. And I have the traits of a martial artist, and there's no way that you end up doing a sport like this without having that in your soul, you know? Like sometimes we're born different and sometimes like the path just leads us there. Um Hell, I just had a brain scan done just to fight in Japan, and I kind of like laughed at the doctor and I said, "Yeah, I've got a really thick skull, you know, like I feel like it's thick." And she comes back and she's like, "Wow," she's like, "It's 2.5 times that of like the normal person." And she goes, "And it's not just in the front, it's the whole way around, you know." So you hear these things, and then I'm getting my eyes tested, and the lady's like, I told her, I was like, "This is a crazy fact. Did you know this?" And she's like, like Allah makes us born to do things and you're just being chosen. So I think that's kind of cool too. Um, Hell, I've been a lot of a firsts in my life. Like, yeah, I've been one of the first female electrical contractors, one of the first female like thermographers. I've conquered and become one of the best tacklers in the world in the American Football League. I became a pro Muay Thai fighter, and now I'm taking on like bare knuckle. Like there isn't anything that I haven't been able to take on and succeed in without having like that martial arts like mindset and way to approach any sort of war. Really, everything's a war, everything's a battle. Whether it's a good battle or a bad battle, or a big project or $1 million project upgrading, like electrical stations. It's still all like a battlefield. So yeah, I definitely get obsessed with the small detail and being able to increase and speed up my learning curve as fast as possible, especially because I know that I haven't been doing this particular sport since I was a kid. Um, but it just means like less distractions unless the distraction is going to be worthy, and also be about this.
Yeah, that's a good way to phrase it for sure. And it's great that I was able to talk to you ahead of this, very intriguing cross promotional effort and
So
everything.
cool,
But
bro.
I,
So cool. I'm glad that I'm hearing it because I'm like, I think it's pretty cool, like it is. It's pretty cool. Cool. Good on Ryzen.
yeah, no, I mean, I love BKFC and also RIZIN, so it's very much up my alley, but I definitely want to be mindful of your time and schedule. As I was kind of saying earlier, Ty, I imagine you have a lot on the go, but also thought to give you the floor if maybe there was a final thought you wanted to add as we're kind of wrapping up, though. I appreciate the time.
Final thought. Hell, everybody tune in. I think this is going to be a bloody good fight. Like I said, I think they've chosen two people that just don't want to die, won't die, will go the distance, and like both want blood. I think we're both like proper banshees, like like what it's going to be a good display of bare knuckle. That, or I'm about to show the world that I can KO a motherfucker. Like let's go. So I want to say thank you to all my sponsors. I want to say thank you to anyone that's kind of helped me to get to this point here. I absolutely love like the new environment and the new mindset that I've been able to create. I feel like more me than ever. And yeah, I'm excited for the future. I'm excited. I want to thank David Feldman for, reaching out and giving this to me. I know I can be a bit of a brat, but I think I'm sometimes really, I'm pretty deserving. So yeah, I'm excited. Thanks for wanting to interview me.
Yeah, no, great getting to have you on Bare Knuckle Bowker. I mean, Super RIZIN 3 looks like a great card. I've been looking to set up interviews with a lot of the different bare knuckle fighters and some of the fighters on the card. Like I was saying before, I love interviewing BKFC fighters and RIZIN fighters. So perfect combination, and definitely going to be tuning in July 28th for that Charisa Sigala fight. But yeah, thanks so much for the time, Ty, and you have a good rest of your day. Thank you.
Right.